Bruh. Was I the only one who's had Kingdom Hearts as one of their favorite franchises of all time, but have never really fully played every game and understand the story 100%? Like, there's just no way I'm the only person who's chilling here as a 20-something-year-old who played the very first game, loved it, played the second game, loved it, and has no freaking clue what's happening in the overall main story because there's so many side games. And some of these side games kinda... had to hold myself back there. Are different. Let's say that. They're just a little bit different. In this video, I'm here to talk to you all... Oh, wait, let me do that again because my arms probably got chopped off. In this video, I'm here to talk to you all about Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories. I also want to talk about 35802. This might just be one big video where I include both, or this might just be one video where I just talk about Rechain of Memories. I have no idea, but let's start with here. Little disclaimer, I'm also going to assume that if you clicked on this video, you probably already have some basic understanding of like what this game is about or the franchise as a whole, so I'm not going to get into the whole, what is Kingdom Hearts? Who is Riku? Why is there a dog and a dog following him? What, the mouse has a sword? Huh? You get what I'm saying. You're here because you kind of have an idea of what Kingdom Hearts is. And if you're anything like me, you love the franchise, but you're missing bits and pieces of the story, man. And I'm here to tell you all that I finally went back to 20-something years later. Just insert here whenever Rechain of Memories came out. So it's been this many years since this game came out, and I am just now finally fully grasping what happened in that game. So why haven't I played this game? I'm sure it's no surprise that, as you all know, this game's a little bit different below the... I need to stop. This game's a little bit different. This game's a little bit different. Assuming you already played Kingdom Hearts 1, let me just tell you what this game kind of is about. Let's skeet by the gameplay, because that's not what this video is about. It's not gonna be about the gameplay. Let me just tell you real quick. Is the gameplay bad? No. I know. It's not bad. People just don't understand it. And yes, I am said people. I am referring to myself. I don't necessarily enjoy it, but it would be really shallow of me to say that it's bad gameplay. I actually think it's genius. I actually think it's really cool the way that they implement the action RPG element, where you still get to play as Kingdom Hearts 1 Sora, where you just kind of attack in the same way that you roll in the same way. Like, this is an action RPG. Yet they also include elements from a card game, making you think about each individual hit. Like, they make it work so well together. For me, it's overwhelming the amount of different options and choices that you can when you're fighting in this game. If you strip down Kingdom Hearts to its basics without getting too fancy, give someone an easy playthrough of Kingdom Hearts, attack, dodge, maybe, or block, maybe, and know how to heal. That's it. In this game, you have that as a core, but then you also have this whole other layer of complicated cards. Again, me saying it's complicated isn't me saying it's bad. I've heard from multiple people that this game is actually really good, and I believe it. I believe that those who understand the gameplay love this game. It's actually something really unique. I feel like this is one of those games where once I get it, I would love to play through it. I will say, in my 20-something years of this franchise being a thing, I've tried to get into this game at least 3 to 4 different times. Once when I played the very first time on the PS2, once when it came out from the PS3, once when it came out from the PS4, and just actually last week when I tried playing it on my PS5 once again after having fully completed the story. But no, wait, how did you complete the story without beating the game or playing the game? Well, I looked up the full movie on YouTube. So yes, I fully know what this game's about. Anyways, I digress. I tried getting into this game like 5 separate times. And it's weird, man. It's one of those things where like I can appreciate, I can see the vision of this game. I can see why this game works and some people would be into it. I personally just could never fully immerse myself into the gameplay because there's just so many options. And a lot of the time I found myself thinking like, this is really cool and it makes me want to play Kingdom Hearts 2 or 1 or any of the other ones. And I wasn't in a place to just appreciate what it was because it was too reminiscent of something else that I love. So instead of playing this game and just enjoying it for what it is, it just kept making me want to play the other games that I know how to play so well. So I hope that makes sense. I don't think what I'm saying is too confusing. I think if I were to understand the right way to use all the slates, to use super cool moves like this, I know, or this, like there's just so many cool things Sora can do in this game that he can't do in Kingdom Hearts 1 that just makes me be like, wow, I wish I could fully grasp how to play this game to do these things. It's so genius, and there's just so many things that you have to kind of keep track of in this game. You can't just mindlessly go in and bash X and dodge whenever you see a move incoming. You have to be aware of the cards, the value of your cards. Something else that this game does that is different is like you get to choose when you level up what you want to level up, whether it be your health or your CP, so that you can have more cards and more moves. I don't know another Kingdom Hearts game that does it quite like that. So huge brownie points for that. Having all these things to keep an eye out for and all these things that you're able to collect and tweak about the gameplay is amazing, and it's something that makes it so beautiful and enjoyable. While for long-term fans of the series, actively turning them off to this kind of gameplay. I know, it's weird, it's confusing. Anyways, what is there to not like about this game in terms of gameplay? You don't get to really go and explore cool, different new Disney worlds. You recycle all the ones from Kingdom Hearts 1. Kingdom Hearts 1, you go to different worlds, you go into different areas, you feel like you're exploring different Disney worlds. In Rechain of Memories, it feels like you're in this super fancy Disney hotel where they have the same room, just themed differently and different sizes too. You want to go explore Alice in Wonderland? Well, you can't go to the actual world, but we have this room that we decorated like Alice in Wonderland. And then right next to it, you can go explore Agrabah. And right next to it, you can explore Halloween Town. Pretty much covers it. There's really not much more that I want to say in terms of gameplay for this game. Other than I appreciate it for what it is. It's not something that I could get myself into, but it's funny. Every time I start it, I promise myself that I'm not going to try to get into it. But here I am once again thinking I want to try and give it another shot. Maybe someday I'll get into it. I don't know. Now, let's talk about the real reason why I'm making this video. The story. How important is the story in Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories for the rest of the franchise? I would say this is where the story really starts. I've played Kingdom Hearts 1 more times than I can count. And while that game does a really good job of just kind of like introducing you to the world, there is close to zero complicated things in that game. Unless you get into the secret reports, which we'll talk about later, maybe in a separate video, there's not really much more to it. There's nothing that you're gonna watch and be confused about. Enter Kingdom Hearts 2. Now that I've watched all of the cutscenes for Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories, I understand that the Kingdom Hearts story, the complicated real story, actually begins here. This is the true KH1 story-wise. I love the story in Kingdom Hearts 1, but I hope you guys get what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to take away from that. I'm just saying this is where things get complicated. Plus, one of my favorite things about this game is this game has solidified Riku as my favorite character in Kingdom Hearts, and that's saying a lot, dude. I love Kingdom Hearts. I've been a fan of the series since the day it came out. For me to officially say that I have a favorite Kingdom Hearts character is insane, and this game brought that out of me. But why? Not because I looked up some summary on YouTube as to what the game was about, but because I actually sat there, watched the story unfold, and I saw Riku grow, and I saw why Riku is actually so important to the story, and why in Dream Drop Distance, he actually passes some of the things that I didn't understand before. I'm like, why are they giving this, character so, I don't know, such an important role? This game has solidified Riku as my favorite character in Kingdom Hearts. So I'm watching the first half of the story, right? I'm relatively interested. I'm curious. I'm kind of watching it while playing something else in the background. I'm listening, I'm watching, but I'm also playing something mindless, right? So Sora's going through this tower, right after the events of Kingdom Hearts 1, and as they're progressing through the different floors, he starts losing his memories. And not just that, the higher and higher that he goes through this tower, and the more that he loses of these original memories, he starts remembering this other girl named Naminé. And you can actually see, this is probably the only game where I really see Sora get aggressive and kind of turn on his friends.
Maybe you should just slow down and think ahead about some of these things.
Think ahead? What is the matter with you guys? Do you want me to abandon her?
No, that's not it.
Then do whatever you want. You can lay back and take a nap for all I care. I'm going to find Naminé.
Sora!
Sora, that was no way to...
Keep it to yourself.
It's very interesting. I've never seen this version of Sora. I'm not gonna give you the full summary, but I'm telling you the things that stuck with me from watching it once all the way through. You get a lot of cool insight into some of the other organization members. Considering in Kingdom Hearts 2, I'm just like, oh, these are just the bad guys, I gotta kill them. In this game, I actually start to see some of their motives and got to understand a little bit more about who are these organization members and what do they want? They're nobodies. What does that even mean? This game gives you the first glimpse of kind of who they are as individual people. They're not just villains that you're supposed to kill off in boss style, right? They're actually characters with some backstory and who have bigger motives than just I'm the bad guy. Especially, this is the game that would start a lot of people's journey in loving Axel, or Lee, as some of you would know him as. Lee's dope. Axel's dope. He's a fan favorite character, and I I'm not surprised as to why. And while you get to learn a lot more about him in the next game, which is Kingdom Hearts 358/2, in this game you start to see why they chose to keep him and develop him even more as a main character. So aside from learning from the organization, you're going up the tower. Sora and Donald and Goofy, they're all kind of losing their memories while Sora's actively remembering this girl named Namine. As they're going up the tower, you run into Riku, and you're like, what? But then it turns out that's not real Riku. It's basically a copy of Riku that they created, like a science experiment, saying, okay, this is a fake Riku that we're creating, which kind of has his same feelings, his same thoughts, and part of his memories, except we're also gonna, and the organization created him, like the bad guys created him, and they said, we are going to have him also care about this Namine girl, which we still don't really know who she is, other than from what Sora's explained and from what Riku's explained, she used to live with them on the island, and I guess they used to be really good friends, and he just kind of forgot about her as time went on, because eventually she had to leave. And as he's going up the tower, he's remembering more and more about her, so you start to know, okay, I guess, who is this Namine chick? So same thing with this Data Riku. You don't really know who Data Riku is, but you think it's the real Riku for a little bit, and you're kind of confused, because you're like, yo, what happened to Riku? I thought this was a good guy. But then eventually it gets revealed that he's just a puppet, and that, you know, all of his memories were kind of like fake, planted, and that he's just not the real him. And when that does get revealed, it's kind of cool, because then you see this Riku wanting to be the real Riku, but he's not. We reach the top of the tower, you know, defeating multiple organization members as we go. You beat the last one, you beat Marluxia, you know, or whoever it is, and you finally meet Namine, and she just spills all the beans. Here's the thing, Sora, I'm so sorry. I've been captured. I've been working for the organization, you know, the organization has kind of had Namine as their puppet, you know. Namine was just really lonely, and she made Sora think that all those memories that he had of her living with him on the island were real, when none of it really happened. It was all created by Namine and implanted into Sora's mind, while actively making him forget what actually happened on the island with Kairi. So Sora gets to the top, and he's like, wait, so you're not real, and everything that I think and I believe and I feel about you is just fake? And she's like, yeah, I'm sorry. And in classic Sora fashion, instead of getting mad, he's like, well, I care about you, and I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. I'm sorry that you're so lonely and that this all happened to you, but hey, whether or not whatever you implanted in my mind was fake, I know what I feel for you right now is real. I care about you. You gotta love Sora. So then Namine gives Sora the choice. Okay, I can put you in this pod, you will regain all your memories, but you will forget absolutely everything that happened in this castle, as well as you will completely forget about me. So the answer is kind of obvious as to like what he should do, right? That's kind of what happens. Without really giving it too much thought, he's like, well, yep, I kind of want my memories back. So then that's kind of it. And I remember finishing that story and being like, okay, like that was kind of cute. I mean, I kind of heard about Data Riku, so it's cool that I have a little bit more context as to who he is. And okay, it's kind of cool that now I understand why at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2, you know, Sora's in this pod and he's regaining his memories, and now I have a little bit more of an understanding as to who Namine is. So I finished that first half thinking, okay, if this is where the game ends, I don't think it's really worth sitting through and watching all that. Like, you get some cool lore from some of the other organization members. You start to like Axel, you start to like understand some of these bigger characters, but it's like, I personally wouldn't think it's worth watching.
Quick thing to add here, I also just want to make sure, when I'm saying I'm not really sure if this is worth watching, I mean, option A being watch a summary on YouTube as to what happens in the story, and then option B being sitting down for like an hour and watching the entire movie. If you're like a huge KH fan, odds are you probably already wanted or were intending to watch the movie. I just mean for those who kind of are fans of the series but don't want to sit down and, you know, watch that whole thing, like, that's what I'm saying. It's subjective. Like, I didn't really think it's worth it. Some people might think it is, but anyways, hear me out.
But then that's where the game takes a twist. You're technically kind of basically halfway through the game, because you have to start a whole nother separate campaign with Riku, where you play as Riku, and Riku goes through the entire castle in the same way Sora did. So that's fascinating. And again, this is where things get kind of spicy. Riku wakes up, you know, and he's in Castle Oblivion, and it's the same kind of deal. He starts going up the castle. Now, Riku's memories don't get tampered with. What does happen is you get to see this really cool kind of redemption arc for Riku, and you really get to see him, you know, all the bad stuff that he did in KH1. You see that regret that he has, and you see him wanting to change as a person. You know, Riku is this person who, he accepted the darkness in Kingdom Hearts 1, and he ran with it, and he was like, with the darkness, I'm gonna save Kairi. Fails miserably. You know, he's got now this evil entity inside of him called Ansem. And this, like, Ansem also represents, like, the darkness inside of him. It's the evil part in him. So he spends the whole beginning of the game going up the tower really just suppressing that darkness and saying, like, no, I am going to be better. As he runs into the organization members, he finds out that Sora is also somewhere in the castle. So that's his own motive to get to the top and to continue exploring. He's looking for his best friend. So this is where you really start to like Riku a little bit more. Even though I always thought Riku was kind of cool, I thought he looked cooler, I thought he acted cooler. That's all he ever was to me. He's like, oh, he's the cool guy, right? He's the cool silent type in Kingdom Hearts 2 and even in Kingdom Hearts 1. In Kingdom Hearts 1 he's kind of rowdy, but in Kingdom Hearts 2 he's the cool silent type with long hair and a blindfold. But now I start to really understand like what kind of is going on with Riku. I start to see like, okay, so like he's got some development going on, man. He's got this darkness inside of him and he's trying to suppress it. He wants to just, you know, be light. He wants to be good. He wants to be more like Sora. So as he starts going up these levels, who does he run into? Data Riku. Now Data Riku is like, I want to be you. I want to be the real you. Like, yes, right now I'm a copy of you, but I want to be the better version of you that makes me unique and makes me me. One thing that Data Riku had over the real Riku was Data Riku wasn't afraid to use the darkness. So that makes Data Riku stronger and special and more powerful than the original Riku, right? So the way that I saw this playing out is like, okay, so Riku's gonna get through the game. You know, he's gonna show how like through him suppressing his dark powers, the light overcame him and he became a good guy and he managed to get through the entire game while beating evil Riku through the power of light and being oh so good. That's when things kind of take a turn. So at some point, Riku has this moment of like, I can't keep running away from this dark part inside of me. What I have to do is embrace it and learn how to control it. So then that just made so much sense to me as to why in Dream Drop Distance and even in this game and in Kingdom Hearts 2, he can use the darkness. It's because he stopped being afraid of the darkness. He stopped running away from the darkness, but he started implementing it into his own powers and using the darkness to make him stronger, while keeping it at check, while keeping it at bay at the same time. And I'm like, wow, that's actually really cool. They could have gone the easy route. They could have gone the Sora route, I guess you could say, where it's like, oh, he's just gonna be a good guy, but it's like, he's managing to be a good guy while using darkness as his power, because that's a part of him and he doesn't have a choice other than to live with it. Like, this is just who he is, dude. He has this darkness in him now. And instead of just running away from it, which was making him weaker, he learned to just use it, embrace it, and use it for good, man. Dude, coolest thing ever. But it gets better for me. It gets better. So he starts going up the tower, you know, he's kind of fighting organization members, he's fighting Data Riku, and at some point, you know, he has that final confrontation with Data Riku, and he's like, guess what, Data Riku, I'm no longer afraid of darkness, I've embraced it. And Data Riku's like, dang it, dude, that was the only thing that I had over you. That was the only thing that made me more unique. Like, I just have been, I'm your shadow. I'm just living as, you know, a Data Riku, and I just want to be me. Puppet, this creation, this science experiment just wants to live, man. It's also kind of deep. So they have this final fight, and Riku ends up defeating Data Riku, and Data Riku's like dying, and it was actually kind of cool because Data Riku's like, yeah, you know, like, this is for the best. Like, what's the point of me living if I'm just gonna live under your shadow? Like, I wonder where I'm gonna go now, what's gonna happen. And Riku's like, dude, like, hopefully you'll go to wherever I'll go. Hopefully, you know, you'll find peace. And Data Riku's like, yeah, like, whatever. Like, I guess he just wanted to die. So Riku gets to the top of the tower, and that's where Diz / Ansem the Wise gets introduced. So I kind of already know who Diz is, but this is like my first time really being like, oh, this is the first time he pops up. Let's see kind of the vibes that we get. Like, who is this guy and why am I supposed to care about Diz? So then he reaches the top and he meets Namine, and Namine explains everything about how, you know, Sora losing his memories and kind of everything that happened. And in the same way that Sora's asleep, regaining his memories while losing the ones he had in the castle, Riku gets to the top, and Diz at some point, you know, tells Riku, like, you're gonna have to make a choice. And we're just kind of like, okay, like, what choice? He gets to Namine, and Namine says, you have a choice. She's like, with my powers, I can conceal the darkness inside of you so that it never becomes a risk of it being able to take over you or you ever having to really fight it. Like, I can just, like, seal it away so that you'd be safe. If I do that, though, you would lose all the memories that you had while you were here in the castle, same as Sora. So the same exact thing happens, and I'm thinking, okay, there's the obvious answer. Like, seal away the darkness, go to sleep, and just forget about this whole crazy nonsense, and then you wake up and you're gonna be more light, Riku. You're gonna be like a good guy, like a fully good guy, like with no evil inside you. Like, that's what makes the most amount of sense. And for a kid's game and a Disney game, I was like, this is the path that it's gonna go down. And Riku says, nah, screw that. I'm gonna go the harder route. I'm going to learn how to control my darkness. I don't want to forget everything that I went through in this castle, because he grew. You can literally see through Riku's story him grow as a person, him conquer his fear of the darkness, and not just conquer it, but be able to use it to empower him even more and accept who he is, man. And the fact that at the end, you know, she gives him this choice to say, like, here's the easier route. We can just conceal this. The fact that he says, don't conceal it. I'm going to struggle with this. Let me, like, I'm going to deal with this and go the hard route and embrace this part of me. Crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. Really cool. It's really cool. And that's one of the things that made this game so special to me. Like this, seeing this Riku storyline, man. It caught me by surprise and I was so hyped to see that moment. Getting to see that moment right there made the entire thing make sense to me. And that is why I think that this game in particular and watching this story, it just, you all can kind of get an idea of what I'm telling you as I'm walking you through Riku's story. But it's completely different to actually sit down and see the whole story unfold before you. It's for the same reason that it'll never be the same to hear from someone about how good a movie is or a game is than watching it or playing it yourself. This is one of those stories that I really think for you to be able to feel that impact, you'd have to watch him go through the journey. One other little golden nugget that is tucked away into this story is the relationship with Riku and Mickey. Mickey is to Riku what Donald and Goofy is to Sora. They're their best Disney companion. And you clearly see that in Kingdom Hearts 2, especially at the ending scene when you see Riku and Mickey, you know, hug. Clearly they've been through some stuff together, and you don't, you know, really get to see that in Kingdom Hearts 2 or anywhere else. Other than here, in this game, throughout the tower, you know, at some point, Mickey joins him and gets to see Riku struggle and tries to help him out in different ways. And there's even a moment at the end of the game, at some point he tells Mickey, like, Mickey, bruh, like, I chose to do this thing and I might fall into the darkness. I might actually lose, right? There's a chance that Ansem will take over me, and just promise me one thing. If that happens, just terminate me, bro. Like take me out, like do the hard thing. And Mickey's like, I will help you. He literally interrupts Riku and says, stop what you're saying. I will help you get through what you have to go through. But here's the thing, if you are going to like die or fall, don't worry, that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna help you. You won't get to that point. And you know, that's a pretty cool moment. Second super cool moment was again near the end of the game when, you know, this whole time we're referring to Mickey as Your Majesty, right? It's Your Majesty, King Mickey. It was so cool and heartwarming when Riku, you know, near the end of the game after they've been through all this stuff, you know, once again calls Mickey Your Majesty, and Mickey jumps in and is like, you don't have to call me Your Majesty anymore. Like, we're past that. And it actually gets referenced in 358, I believe, and just a couple times after, or he goes, Your Majesty, I mean Mickey, you know, and it's just cool, man, seeing that. And that's another cool little piece of lore and story that is tucked away in this game that again kind of makes me wish that the gameplay was more, you know, even more similar to the other games. But I don't know, it makes it different. I already talked about that whole thing, so I also don't want to get rid of that. But what does bite is that there is such a good story here, and so many KH fans missed out on this thing, including myself when it first came out, because it was just so different. Another little tidbit that gets explained in this game, and this is really small, but the organization robes. Turns out that those really cool robes that you see Organization 13 wearing isn't just for fashion or to be part of a squad. It's because the organization members are around darkness so much that the robes actually help protect them from fully losing themselves into the darkness. Think about that. Like, that's actually pretty cool. It shows that, like, just the depth, bro. The depth of Tetsuya Nomura, bro. Everything matters. Every little thing matters. They're not just cool robes. They're actually robes that protect, you know, these organization members from the darkness themselves. Like, they're not immune to it because they're bad guys. They could just as easily fall down and get lost in the darkness, but because of the robes, they don't. Hence why at the end of Rechain of Memories of Riku's story, Diz gives Mickey and Riku organization coats himself, and he says, you know, you guys are going to be hunted by the organization. Wear these as a way to stay protected from the darkness and as a way to kind of like, I don't know, stay hidden. Which then also makes sense why the first time you see Mickey in Kingdom Hearts 2, he's wearing the robe. And same thing with Riku. Why does he have the robe on in Kingdom Hearts 2? Now you know. But possibly the coolest thing that hyped me up so much at the end was Riku was at a literal crossroads where he's like, okay, you beat the game, and you know, Mickey and Riku are gonna go do their own thing while Sora regains his memories. And Diz says to Riku, you can choose the path of light or you can choose the path of darkness. And Riku literally says to him like, I'm not gonna do either. I'm gonna choose the road to dawn, or the way to dawn, something like that. And that scene is just so cool because it's just one massive reminder that he's not going all in one way or all in the other way. He's saying, I am not all light. I am not all darkness. I am me. And me is going to try to be a good guy while wrestling with this darkness inside of me. Which makes it all the more cool when you see in Kingdom Hearts 1, Riku has like this really dark Keyblade that looks pretty cool. In Kingdom Hearts 2, when you see Riku's Keyblade, it's transformed into this dark Keyblade with angel wings at its tip and near the, you know, the hilt of the blade. It just adds so much more significance to that, and now you understand why it's called A Way to Dawn. It's so cool, man. It's so cool. Like, take something that already looks really cool, but then like that, it really just connects to Riku's story. It's so freaking cool, man. It is so freaking cool. Oh, I love this series. Probably what makes me most happy about this whole thing is like I've always, like, as I talked about in my previous video where I talk about like why I love Kingdom Hearts as a whole, it's even cooler that I fell in love with this game that has a whole other story to it that I didn't even tap into, right? And then now that I am, I'm digging it, you know? I'm really into it. Like, I like that. How many more times is this game gonna surprise me, or this franchise gonna surprise me with like really cool, you know, backstory and lore? And it actually does that as well with Kingdom Hearts 358/2. That's actually a really solid storyline as well that not many people touch, you know, not many people know about. Oh, but now I do, and I also really enjoyed it. But we'll leave that for our next video. But yes, that pretty much does it for you know, why I ended up loving playing this game and why Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories solidifies Riku as my favorite character. One last little thing to add, there's a cutscene, I think it's after the credits or when the credits start rolling. There's no audio, there's just music, and you see Riku and Mickey, yeah, you know, they're going on this journey together. It's just the two of them, they're walking along, and like at some point Riku kind of like falls over and grabs his heart, and you see Mickey really concerned, like kind of like run up to him like, bro, like let me help. And Riku's like, you know, like, I got this. He stands up and he's just kind of like trucking along, and you can tell he's in pain. And it's just that super cool constant reminder, like once you beat the game, they're like, Riku's still dealing with stuff. Like, Riku chose the hard path, and it shows. He could have just sealed away the darkness, but it shows that he decided to, you know, do the hard thing, which is accept yourself as who you are and learn how to deal with that darkness, and learn how to still be the best version of you that you can be while not losing you in the process. Freaking beautiful, man. It was so cool. But okay, that's gonna actually do it for this video. Please let me know what you all think of the video, of Rechain of Memories, of Riku, of this whole story, of just talk to me about anything that you want about Kingdom Hearts. I freaking love this franchise. You know, with the new trailer that came out with Cage 4, I'm just feeling KH, so I'm just gonna like steer into that and enjoy what's there. But alright everyone, that's actually gonna do it for this video, so don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to one of the most amazing YouTube families out here. And on that note, I love you, Wolfpack, and I will see you all next time.